Oh, come behold the works of God, the nations at his feet.
Welcome to Calvary Chapel Corinth with Senior Pastor Charlie Villard. Our desire is to comfort those in any affliction with the comfort by which we ourselves have been comforted by God. We are blessed to have you join us today as we dig into God's Word, chapter by chapter, verse by verse.
And now in 39, we're going to go back to Joseph. It says in chapter 39, verse 1, Now Joseph had been taken down to Egypt, and Potiphar, the officer of Pharaoh, captain of the guard, and the Egyptian, bought him from the Ishmaelites, who had taken him down there. The Lord was with Joseph, and he was a successful man, and he was in the house of his master, the Egyptian. And his master saw that the Lord was with him, and that the Lord made all he did to prosper in his hand. So Joseph found favor in his sight, and served him. Then he made him overseer of his house and all that he had put under his authority. So it was from the time that he had made him overseer of his house and all that he had done that the Lord had blessed the Egyptian's house for Joseph's sake. And the blessing of the Lord was on all that he had in the house and in the field. Thus he left it all that he had in Joseph's hand, and he did not know what he had except for the bread which he ate. Now Joseph was handsome in form and appearance. Before we continue on, I can read the whole thing, but let's break this down. So when we left chapter 37, Judah had suggested that Joseph be sold into slavery, right? Instead of murdered and left in a pit. So passerbys, they sold their little brother off, grabbed the coat that he had, right, his clothing, and brought it back, covered in goat's blood to his father and said, hey, Joseph's gone. We found this. Do you think it's him? And Israel, as his name is now called, he mourned, and he said, right in front of them, I'm never going to be the same. How do I move on without my son? And I'm sure that it did nothing but to irritate the brothers even more. But we jumped off last week with the story of Judah and his daughter-in-law and the things that happened in that. And as we continue on, he's been sold, he's been taken, and as we kick off in verse 1, it says he's been taken to Egypt, and Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh. Potiphar's not his name, it's a title. And it became a popular title. It's servant, officer. It's much like Pharaoh. There were pharaohs, but they were named something different, sort of like the word king. Potiphar was an officer of the Pharaoh. He was a captain of the guard, an Egyptian, so he was the high-ranking official. It's likely he was a eunuch. Everybody, you can just nod your head. Do you know what that is? Should I explain that? Okay, good. Done purposefully, right? So that in service of the Pharaoh, you're not ever, as a man, worried about anything else, right? Your life is a life of serving, and much like we have as bondservants, right, for Christ, used to be marked by an earring in the ear. We can make the claim, if we truly are bondservants, that we have chosen to serve our Lord. The Israelites, their way of separating themselves out by God's word was to circumcise themselves. That was different than the rest of the world. And so it wasn't uncommon in these times, especially, even into the years of, what's the king? King of England, Henry, right? The King Henrys. During their times, it was pretty common to have someone that was like that, right? So that they're not giving in their desires and to use their bodies with all their people or their wives for that matter, right? A guy like, Potiphar probably was in the inner circle of all of these people. So you don't have to really worry about a guy being with your wife or raping your wife or any of that kind of matter if he's a eunuch. It's not clear here that he is. I'm going to surmise that he is based on something that happens with his wife as we read. But that was one of the most common things that set them apart from anybody else. Potiphar, an officer of the Pharaoh, captain of the guard, an Egyptian, says he bought him from the Ishmaelites who had taken him down there. The Lord was with Joseph, and he was a successful man. So it's interesting, right? Because as we left Joseph, he's screaming from this pit. He's crying. He's begging his brothers to the point where how cold they've become. They can sit there and eat lunch and enjoy their food while he's literally near them screaming for help. But the way that the Lord sees this and the way that we have this, Likely Moses. Moses was the one that would have taken note of the book of Genesis, most common. These are stories that could have been passed along, but likely he's the one that collected these. It said that the Lord was with him, and the Lord was, right? The Lord was with him, and the Lord was blessing him and made him a success in all really that he did. However, I don't imagine Joseph, young guy, 16, 17 years old, right, at this point, was real happy about the situations that he was in, that he might not consider himself successful. But he says that he was. The Lord was with him. The Lord was making him a successful man. He was in the house of his master, the Egyptian. And his master saw that the Lord was with him and that the Lord made all he did to prosper in his hand. This is a cool witness, that when God is with someone, and have you been in a season where you sense God's favor? Like that just everything seems to work smoothly or work out, or, and they're short seasons sometimes, but I wish they were longer. I suppose there are the people that say they live their whole lives like that. I don't necessarily believe them when they say that. It's like, how could you? The Lord himself promised trials and tribulations. How could it just be perfect all the time? There is a sense of living in the joy of the Lord, right? And that's what we should want to be in. But there's these seasons where you look at it and you're just like, man, I don't know, how is all this stuff just rolling into place? And how does it, it's not a feeling, right? It's more of a sense, but you can just see the Lord working. And sometimes it's a good feeling. It's like, man, really, the Lord, I guess his hand is on me. I'm thankful for all he's doing. But those are hard seasons too. I mean, he's away from his family. He's been made a slave. But everything that he's done has become a success. And this Potiphar's household is now seeing it and getting the blessing from it. I know of people who run companies and hire Christians even though the person's not a believer. Because it's an odd thing too, right? He believes that Christians tend to come with good morals and good character, and they work hard. And they can see the evidence in people's lives, so they want those people to work for them, even though they themselves are not believers, right? And they'll give all the crazy excuses that anyone normally would, which is, it's like, well, I got to clean my life up before I come to the Lord, or, me and the big man upstairs, we're good, it's no problem, but they have zero idea of what Scripture says. But to get the benefit of what God is doing, right, this favor is now benefiting his household, and not just his household, his fields, right? So he's prospering in everything that he does by having Joseph around. And in 4, unsurprisingly, Joseph found favor in his sight and served him, right? Joseph's going to want to serve a good master, right? This comes back to the, good masters and cruel masters. We all serve something, one way or another. Ladies, you're in a serving your kids season, right? Like, they're growing up, they're hanging on you. You got to feed them and love them and do all kinds of stuff, right? And eventually they break away, and sooner than later, right? Hopefully, in a way, they start to become their own little person, and they do their things. And then, I don't know, I suppose you probably have a season where you're like, man, I kind of missed that a little bit. And I always think it's like the rose-colored glasses, though. I don't miss the throwing up and the pooping everywhere and the yelling and screaming at you, but you miss sometimes the loving connection that you had, which is natural. But you see them grow, and then what you're praying for next is that God's favor is in them, right? That what they're doing, that God is blessing them, and they see the need for the Lord. But if you have a cruel parent, right, or parents, or they abandon you, right, then you would look back and go, you know what, I would never want to go back there. I would never want to serve them. No one wants to serve cruel people. But we do, right? We serve sin because that's who we are, right? We find ourselves locked in places. If you work at a place, you are working at a company, and you hate the person you work for, or a business, right, or whatever. There's this American ideal that the way to do everything is to become a business owner. That if you work just for yourself, no one can tell you what to do. You're a slave to no one. You'll pay, all the money will come to you, and it'll just be great. And the problem with that whole notion is, well, a few things. One, you work all the time because there's not all kinds of other people to do the job. 2, all the money doesn't just come to your pocket because you have to pay out all these things. And 3, you still serve masters one way or the other, right? You serve the government, you serve the IRS, you serve the people that work for you, you serve your customer. It's just how it works. We all want to break away from that. But Joseph, finding favor in Potiphar's sight, right? And he wants to serve him. So he wants to stay there. And, look, he's prospering in things. He's being a success. He's a young guy. I remember being 17 years old. I was not thinking about being a success in the world. At 17, I was like, when am I going to get a wife, right? Or when am I going to get a car? Or when I get a car, I had a couple cars by that point, and I was just blowing money left and right. I was working like 3 jobs, 2 before I graduated high school, 3 after it. And I would just take all that money and put it into cars and video games and pornography. I didn't really think about life. I wasn't really thinking about, oh, it's going to be awesome. I'll just, I'll live with my parents my whole rest of my life, even though I have a woman who wants to marry me and move out. And she's like making plans to move out with her friend and get a place. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know. She's like, you can come in, you can stay here. It's like, I don't know. There was a complicated situation anyway. But, then there's like, I can go home, play my video games, do my own thing, eat my parents' food. I'm not buying anything. I'm not paying for anything. The only gas I spend is when I'm like burning tires off of my car. I was thinking I served no one, right? But the fact is that I did, but at 17, you're not really thinking about all that, right? And it says he's coming up, right? He's a good-looking guy. He's 17 years old. He's a young guy, likely fit. He's doing all this work. And he's living the high life to an extent as a servant because he's with someone very high up in the Egyptian guard. So it says that he found favor in his sight and he served him. And then he made him overseer. Potiphar made Joseph overseer of his house and all that he had put under his authority. So it was a loud bang for. Thank you. So, he now is like, hey, look, you're blessing me. You're a blessing to my household. I'm going to give you more and more and more responsibility. And that's what comes with being a blessing too, right? Is more responsibility. You work hard. You take care of things. My boss, I am very thankful for my job. I'm very thankful for the men I work for. They are great leaders. They're taught me a lot, right? And they're real conservative business guys, conservative, men. And it's the greatest compliment to hear, like, I got to go on vacation. I would prefer to have no phone calls, and I trust you explicitly for every decision that you'll make. Go ahead and run the business. Whoa, yeah, okay, that's fine, but I'll call you in a couple of days, just check in. It's like, no, he wants to take a vacation, right? And it's really great, and that's what's happened here with Joseph. He's saying like, hey, look, you've blessed me in every way possible. You've blessed my family. You're blessing my household. Why don't you just oversee my household? I got to work a lot. I'm traveling around, whatever he's doing, being a captain of the guard. Monitoring the prison. So he lets him oversee everything. And then the Lord blessed that. He blessed the Egyptian's house for Joseph's sake. Joseph finding favor, he's not blessing a house full of sin. He's blessing Joseph. And that blessing is pouring out around him, right? So he is blessing him for Joseph's sake. And the blessing of the Lord was on all that he had in the house and in the field. This also brings up a thing, right, that we should kind of talk about. It's difficult sometimes watching people that are heathens being blessed, right? Straight heathens, don't give a rip about the Lord. Matter of fact, they probably are anti-God, all having a great life and doing all kinds of great things. And we're like, man, what's happening here? How is this working? How is it that they're being prosperous and I'm still struggling, right? Or I've lost my job and everybody else has jobs. Like maybe it was better not following the Lord. It's not I wouldn't really consider it sinful to ask those questions to the Lord, right? The Lord's a good father. He explains things, but he has a plan for us. We just don't see it all. But it says that Potiphar in 6, thus he left all that he had in Joseph's hand, and he did not know what he had except for the bread which he ate. This is a fancy way of saying I didn't really think about anything except for my 3 meals a day, and I was back to work and taking care of other stuff, right? So his whole household's being run by Joseph. It'd be cool to have that, though. Like some person that's like doing your laundry, sweeping, cleaning, changing the garbage. You sit down and meals prepared for you. You just come and go as you please, right? You go to work, go home, go eat, and then move along. Like, well, my cousin and I I was probably around 16, 17. It was probably earlier, right? Like we grew up like brothers. We were together all the time. We rode bikes everywhere. I'll tell stories about him and I that are terrible and funny too, probably. But we had this plan, and I can't remember. We all good? Is there anybody up there? So, we were like kids. We wanted to play video games. We wanted to eat pizza and drink root beer and ride our bikes all over, Bangor Brewer and do all kinds of things. And we had a great amount of freedom. We were good kids, really. I mean, we didn't get in a lot of trouble. We just did our thing. And so our plan is that when we turned 18 and graduated high school, and I was just telling Sheena this story yesterday, and I can't remember the name of the place, but does anybody know where the Ranger Inn is? What was it before that when it was the yellow building? It was like some other... No, it was like yellow, and it wasn't like a national chain. It was like a small... It was the same thing as what it is the Ranger Inn now, but it was yellow. And our plan is we would graduate high school, and we would move out into an efficiency. Because they had maids. It was like, they're going to come in and clean your place every day. And it was like, what are you guys going to eat? We'll eat microwave macaroni and cheese. We don't even need a stove. It comes in a cup now. You can nuke it. But we won't have to worry about anything. There'll be TVs there. There's 2 beds. It's going to be great. We're going to live the high life at this place. And it was a dump. I mean, probably not when I was 17. It wasn't that bad. It was like just the greatest thing in the world. We're going to answer to no one. We're going to do whatever we want, and people are going to clean our place. So I can understand the appeal to Potiphar. Like, hey, look, it's a guy that's blessing us, and he's running our whole household. So let's just let him do that, and I'm going to come in, I'm going to eat, I'm going to go do my thing. Well, and he's just kind of letting him do that. So but he's built this up, right? This didn't just happen overnight. He's built trust, and trust is something that, every relationship needs. Doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter if it's your boss, your wife, your friend, your brother or sister, your mom, your dad. I mean, it's even more important than those relationships, right? Because if you want to go do something, and your mom and dad's like, yeah, I don't trust you because you don't make good decisions, right? That comes back to character. Joseph has godly character. He's done the things that he needs to do, and he's blessing their house. And so it's, he's like, hey, look, do your thing. I'm going to come and go. Let's move on. And you just keep doing your thing, and I'll keep letting you do it. As a manager, company, right? You want people like this. There's 2 types of employees, right? There's the person who wants to come to their job. You tell them it's 8 to 5. They come at 8 o'clock. They take their lunch at 12 o'clock. They leave at 5 o'clock. Don't really give any extra. Not a big deal because they work hard during that time. And then they go home. And they're loyal. They're not looking to run off and just get the next raise at some other company, right? They're loyal to the company. They want to work hard, and they'll come in and they'll do their thing, but you can't really... Oh, man. Should have grabbed the water. You don't really press on them. Yeah, can you please? You don't really press them hard. They're good workers, and you need them. And you need them to show up because you need a job done. Not how I was raised, not the kind of worker I am. I'm the kind that's still loyal to the company, but probably puts in, 60 hours a week. And you need that kind of worker too. You need someone who'll take things and they'll run with them. Not he, but they, right? Ladies that do this, hard workers. They want to do well. They care. They think about work when they're not there. That's a great quality, right? You can go home and do your thing and live your life and then go to work. But there's a benefit to that, right? You need those people too. And those are the people that drive innovation, that they come up with new ideas, that they care enough when something's wrong. They usually come to you and be like, hey, this is this is kind of getting in the way of my work and it's changing my work life, and it's kind of annoying, and you should listen to them, right? And take care of those things. They're good hard workers, and they'll give a lot. But at the end of the day, you still work for somebody and you're making money for them. It doesn't matter who it is, right? If it's a board of officers or if I work for a private company, right? My job is to help the business make money so that we can pay the bills and move along. I get paid very well to do that. But at the end of the day, when someone calls in sick, I have to figure out who's going to do the job, right? It's nice to have somebody that worked under you that would do all of that. So I wouldn't have to worry about anything. It's like, hey, if someone called in sick, yeah, you'll take care of that. Or there's a problem in the business, you'll take care of that. As you move up in rank and authority, sometimes it's nice to have people that are the ladder worker, right? They'll give everything and they'll work hard. You know what to expect out of the others, but you can push a bit harder on some of those other people. I try not to do that in a hard way, right? I'm not a slave driver. I work a lot. You work a lot. If you're in here at 3 a.m., I'm coming in here at 3 a.m. I imagine Potiphar's like, I'm going and doing my thing, and I'm letting you just take care of it. He has no concern in the world what's happening. Now, Joseph was handsome in form and in appearance. You guys remember what his mother was like? She was pretty too. That's who Israel wanted, right, initially. He wanted her. She was the pretty one. And instead, he got Leah first, right? And then it was like, that's not, you haven't dealt with me squarely. She was the love of his life. Rachel, she loved, it was Rachel? Yes. I was going to say Rebecca, and then the R's just, COVID 4 times has messed my brain up when it comes to names. I did it to, I don't remember, it was a couple Sundays ago, we were praying, and I forgot someone's name. We were standing up here, and I'm like, Ryan? No, he's like, Mike. I'm like, oh, Mike, dude, I'm so sorry. Don't take it personally. Please don't. Like, I know I remember everything we talked about, but I'm really bad with names. So sometimes when we're praying, and I was like, hey, Lord, bless this person. Bless them so much. I love them. I'm glad they're here, even though I don't remember their name at the moment. But Rachel, he loved Rachel. She was a beautiful woman, and her son is a handsome man. And it says in form too, right? So he's a good-looking guy, and he's in shape. He's a young man in his prime. And in 7, it came to pass after these things that his master's wife cast longing eyes on Joseph, and she said, "Lie with me." Right? So this doesn't just happen overnight. Sin does not happen overnight. There is a buildup. But it says that he refused and said to his master's wife, "Look, my master does not know what is with me in this house, and he has committed all that he has to my hand. There is no one greater in this house than I, nor has he kept back anything from me but you, because you are his wife. How then can I do this great wickedness and sin against God?" She's been eyeing him, right? I don't even think I have to make the case, but it's just how it works. This is where I tend to also think he's probably a eunuch. He's in and out doing his thing. He's not having a sexual relationship with his wife. She's probably longing for that. And then now here's this guy, right? He's coming, he's taking care of everything. And he's likely serving her as well, right? And she's like, well, this guy's serving me. He doesn't have any other obligations. And, this is what happens. Your mind starts to wander. Devil comes along and goes, well, he's pretty handsome, right? Or she's pretty. Yeah, she's pretty, but nope, thanks anyway. Moving about my way, right? And she's not at this point, we don't have anything that says she's a godly woman. So she's just looking at him going, hey, look, he's never around. He's never going to know, right? Maybe this guy will fill the need you have in your relationship that you're not getting. And it says that she cast longing eyes. So she's looking at him. She's watching him. She's not any different than any of us. We can do the same things. I did it at 17 years old with cars, right? Some cool car drives by, it's super loud, and you're like, I don't do that today. I didn't have to be 17. I'll be driving along and a Mustang will go by and I'm like, yep, looking at it, just trying to, I did it to yesterday. I was headed to pick Sheena back up. She worked late. I left, need to go to Home Depot, get some stuff to work on the building tonight. And I'm driving, it's like real nice. I got the top off the Jeep. I don't know how you say what we have on the Jeep. It's a 4-door. I don't take the top off. I take the front 2 sections out, right? But I don't know how to say it, because when I take a top off, it's weird. It's like I drive with my top off. That's just creepy. Actually, there was a lady that I used to work with, and on her license plate, it said top down, or like top off, or let him free, or something. She was like 90, and like really, really not that person. It was like, I'd see the license plate, and, oh God. But I drive her, like, took the top off the Jeep. He's like, oh, you did take the doors off? Well, no, the top's still on the back, and the doors are still on. I just took out the front section. Anyway, it was nice out. So I was like, I got to go get her. I'll take the long way. So I'm driving through not all through downtown, because it's a certain type of month. I drive around downtown, and I'm like cruising up through, and then like I can hear a car. I'm like, there's a car with exhaust. I can hear it. What am I hearing? And I look off in the distance straight ahead, and I see some back of an old car. And I'm like, well, I was going to turn right here. Well, no one's around. Hammer the gas. I'm going like 50 through this neighborhood to try to catch up with this car. Because I'm like, I want to just keep an eye so I know I'll catch up to him eventually. And so I get near the light, and he turns right, and I was like, shoot, I was going to go straight. Well, we're going right anyway. Right, turn right, jam up. I'm halfway across Bangor, just hunting down this car, and I get up near it, and it's like it's probably like a 50s, like a hot rod. So not my favorite thing. I like muscle cars, not really like a hot rod kind of guy. The 40s, 50s cars, I like 60s, 70s, and muscle. But anyway, it's loud. So I'm like, all right. So, I'm cranking as fast as I can within reasonable limits, right? And I finally get up near it, and then I slow down. And then you kind of sit back a little bit, like, just kind of like chilling. And I like turn the music down so I can hear the car a little bit better. And I kind of just pull past him a little bit. And I'm like, well, we're going to get to the light. Get to the light. And he pulls up and he sits there. And I'm like, well, I'm turning left. I got to go left now because I can't cut him off. And I get a left turning light, and he doesn't get the light, right? Because it's just a left turn. So I'm like, oh, sit there for like a minute. I'm like, there's nobody behind me. I can wait a second. I don't even see the light. Just kind of looking around. And I pretend I see it, and then I start to go. By that point, he gets the red. He hammers it and takes off. So I'm going real slow, going, yeah. And the smell of an old car. Ooh, there's something about it. That's what we do, though, right? We look at things. Whatever our interest is, we all have it. Whether it's other people, a man or a woman, or a car, or video games, or a house, or anything, right? We do it. We all have things we go look at, and we kind of look at it long, and you're like, oh man, that'd be so awesome. We do it with farms, right? Like, man, look at that, 150 acres, and like all those fields. I would snowmobile all over those things, and then you think about it. You're like, oh, how'd be cool. We get alpaca, because then I could retire, and I would just raise alpaca, because that's what I want to do. It'll be great. You don't really think about, I have to get up at 4 o'clock and feed them. I have to give them shots. I have to do all these things, and I got to go to work because I got to pay for this $1 million now farm, right? And then I got to do this, I got to do that. And you don't do that. You just kind of lay there going, man, that'd be so cool. But if you do that too long, what happens, right? You get stuck in that. Another example of the longing thing. We'll drive around, and Chino will go, oh, let's go look at the new Yukons. Like, no, I don't want to look at the new Yukons, because we're going to go see it. They're like $90,000, and then I'm going to hate everything we have. And I'm going to go, oh, look at how nice that is. And I'm going to get into my car, and I'm going to hate it. That's what happens. We get to this point where we've longingly looked at something. She's now crossed over into a point where she's in her head figured out, all right, I'm going to approach him. I can get away with this. He's never going to find out. She finally says to him, lie with me, right? There's no description, but I imagine she doesn't just say this in the kitchen while eating an apple, right? She's probably dressed in a certain manner. She's trying to lure him in. The scenario has been built because, if one, I know how these situations would play out based on all the movies that I've seen, and two, I know the devil. That's what he does, right? He's going to make this a very difficult case to say no to. So she's whatever she's done, however she's played it up, right? She's come and lie with me. When I was 17, I'll just be honest, this is the situation I was hoping for as a 17-year-old boy. Is there a woman in this place that would in this world that would just say, hey, why don't you just come on in? I was a paper boy. I delivered papers. When you're 17 years old or 16 years old walking around a neighborhood, you have nothing else to think about, right? You're a boy. I would imagine Joseph at some point has looked at her and went, she's pretty beautiful, right? She's pretty. But his answer is interesting, right? He refused. He refused and said to his master's wife, look, my master does not know what is with me in this house. So he first admits, one, he could get away with this. His master has no idea what goes on. And he confirms this. Then he says, he has committed all that he has to my hand. Not only does he not have any clue what happens here, he has entrusted me with everything that goes on. He's a lot of responsibility as a young man. And 9, there is no greater in this house than I. I don't think he's being a jerk or prideful. He's being honest with her. This is I could do this. But there's a lot at stake here. A lot at stake. He says, nor has he kept back anything from me, but you, because you are his wife. There's some weird things that go on in today's culture. And the pornography world has messed up a lot. But there was something in Potiphar's world here, right, where he goes, I didn't give my wife to him. He can run my household. He takes care of everything. I trust him to the point, I'm going to trust him to watch over my wife, not use her, not do anything. We don't have any indication here if she's done this before, right? But he's fully trusting in him, and Joseph is aware of this. He says, how then can I do this great wickedness and sin against God? He doesn't say even against the homeowner, right? He knows. I wouldn't even be sinning against him. I would be doing great wickedness and sin against God. Man, this is the 17-year-old young man I would want to raise. That's character. That there's no one around. He made the case, right? There's no one here. No one knows what's going on. No one. And I have control of everything in here. There's not really anyone more powerful than me in this household. But he's not given you to me. I don't think he's saying if he did, then I would. He's saying out of all the things that he has given, which is everything, he's held back one thing, and you are his wife. He's a guy that understands what marriage means too. And this is what I meant by there's weird things, right? Marriage doesn't mean the same thing anymore. We were men. We were young men one time. When you're thinking about getting married, what are you thinking about? You're thinking about when she's, yakking, or when she's farting, or has to go to the bathroom, or all of the other stuff. Are you thinking about those? You think about her in her prettiest form and what you'll do on the honeymoon and how life will just blissfully be full of that. 5 minutes after that, when she's yelling at you to take out the garbage, you're like, this is not what I pictured of marriage. Right? It's a commitment, a lifelong thing. Now, we do gross things too. Don't get me wrong. We're guys. All right? You start going to the bathroom, number 2, and the door's wide open, you're just sitting in there on your phone. You get to a certain point. There should be things that are kept private, right? But it's not what you think about. When you're young, you're thinking about all of the great things that will be, and there will be great things. But if we're realistic about marriage, and look, as part of my role, I'll obviously do marriage counseling. And I expect at some point, some dude will run away, and then she'll be like, what did you do? And it's like, trust me, that's not the one you wanted. If he took what I said and was serious, he would still be here, right? Because you start talking about all the things, 3, 4, 5 years of cancer battles, right? When the doctor says, I'm sorry, it's breast cancer, and then you go through chemo, and then your wife goes through menopause 3 times by the time before she's ever even of age where she should be. Probably an overshare, sorry. They don't tell you about that. told me about that 20 years ago and I was just a moron, I might go, yeah, I don't think I really want to get involved with that. Right? We don't think about the actual commitment in marriage that it takes to love someone in the worst of situations. We say the vows and we laugh and we smile and we put rings on. I did it. I wasn't even a believer. And then once I was, I went, holy moly, what have I committed to? And not like I want to run away. It's like I have something I need to be doing. I have roles and I'm still not good at them. But to desert her in the middle of a cancer treatment, and this happens. Oh, it was a couple at Orrington. You know, they struggled, and he wasn't with her all the time. I was with her every time she went somewhere, everywhere, every doctor, everything, because one, she is overwhelmed. Two, I want her to be alone. Three, it's hard to remember all the things that they say when you're going, am I going to die? Right? And we got a 10 or 11-year-old girl living in our house that we are going to adopt. All of a sudden, life is changing. We don't think about those kinds of things. We think about all of the bliss, the things that movies made it. It's going to be awesome. You're going to meet, and you're going to, maybe there'll be a little struggle, and, he'll want to kiss you, and you pull away, and you want to kiss him, and he pulls away, and then you finally kiss, and it's awesome. And then you get married, but the screen cuts off, and the credits roll. They'll see you when you're 9 months pregnant and, quadrupled in size, and you're like, don't touch me, don't look at me, don't even breathe. And besides, when you breathe, it's annoying. Why are you so loud? You guys ever see that Kate +8 show? There's like one clip where they're sitting in like the interview seat, and she's like talking, all of a sudden she's like, can you stop breathing so loud? She's like, he's like, he's just literally sitting there. I'll tell you, I was probably rooting for their divorce more than anyone. I was like, man, he needs to get away from that woman. She was a Karen. I don't want to see any marriage in, because the commitment you're making is for a lifetime, right? And Joseph understands that from a godly perspective. He's been raised this way. He knows what that was. He saw his parents and his other mother, whatever you call her, right? Stepmother, I guess, but it's really his aunt, and it's weird. He's got all these brothers. Because you are his wife. There's things today where husbands give their wives away to others so they can have other wives of other husbands. It's wacky. If you want to live a hedonistic life and just sleep around, don't get married. Don't ruin the foundation of what marriage is. Move on. Figure it out. But he says, I couldn't do this to God. Great wickedness and sin. So it was, as she spoke to Joseph day by day. This continues on, hoping that she'll wear him down. He did not heed her, or to lie with her, or to be with her. Right? Now, or to be with her. Like, I'm not going to lie with you. I'm not going to have sex with you. I'm not going to be your husband. You have a husband. I'm not doing any of that. I'm going to live above board. This is where, as men, we have to be accountable. Right? Here's probably no one in his house helping him remain accountable with a woman by himself. And it's not even because most people will go, well, this doesn't happen. It's men who are the predators. No. Man, school teachers. You see these stories on the news, right? School teachers taking advantage of 16 or 17-year-old boys. If I was a 16 or 17-year-old boy, my teacher took advantage of me, I don't think it would be called take advantage, but it is, right? It is that. Boys were like, whoa, she's pretty. She's like, yeah, well, I'll take advantage of you. In 11, but it happened about this time when Joseph went into the house to do his work, and none of the men of the house was inside. Number one problem. Two, that she caught him by his garment saying, lie with me. So it's physical now, right? At least this is an indication. She's not just verbally trying to persuade him or persuade him with what he's wearing. She's now reached out and is making a physical connection with him. Right, trying to lure him in. It says when he did that, but he left his garment. So at some point there's some sort of struggle, and she pulls it, and he's like, I'm done. I'm out of here. I'm out. When she saw he had left his garment in her hand and fled outside, that she called to the men of her house and spoke to them, saying, see, he has brought in to us a Hebrew to mock us. He came in to me to lie with me, and I cried out with a loud voice. And it happened when he heard that I lifted my voice and cried out that he left his garment with me and fled and went outside. This is a situation you don't ever want to find yourself in, not in today's culture especially. Right? It's our law of the land is innocent until proven guilty, but in fact it is not. That when anyone makes a claim and you just think they're capable of it, they're guilty. And I'm not saying that there's not, right? There is. Men have put great hurt upon women in the name of, oh, she loves me, I love her, it's just things. No. Men willingly take from women things that they should never do. But it is possible for a woman to make a claim that isn't true. He has no one around him to go, yeah, that's not how that happened. So he's so comfortable in this situation that he's doing his thing, and this is probably his normal job, and people are in and out. I imagine when he rejected her and took off, she's like, uh-oh, I got to do something about this, right? Because my husband finds out, I could lose all that I have, right? I'm living probably a fancy life. So she screams, she calls out to the men that would have been around and said, hey, here's what happened. But it's interesting what she says. She points out that he's a Hebrew. So she plays on this sort of racism type thing, right? She goes, oh, he's a Hebrew. See, the dirty Hebrews. My husband brought him in and he did exactly what we expected him to do. He came to lie with me and I cried out with a loud voice. And then he left his garment with me and fled and went outside. And 16, so she kept his garment with her until his master came home. And she spoke to him with words like these, saying, the Hebrew servant. No, it's not Joseph anymore. He's not the servant. He's the Hebrew servant. She's playing heavily on this, right? Because they would be seen as the scum of the earth. The Hebrew servant whom you brought to us came in to me to mock me. To mock me. Not to sleep with me, to mock me. So it happened as I lifted my voice and cried out that he left his garment with me and fled outside. So it was when his master heard the words which his wife spoke to him, saying, your servant did to me after this manner, that his anger was aroused. So it's an interesting thing. Now, what we don't know, it's just speculation. I like to think about people, right? These are real people. What were they thinking? Has she never done this before? And it would be so out of the realm of possibility that he believes everything she said. Because he immediately goes from giving him everything to then wanting to jail him. Like, takes away every single thing. So was it not possible? Was he so blinded by her that, he didn't want anything to come out? Or had she done this before? And he knows he'd be a mockery, his high position, if it becomes something. So he goes with what she says and tosses this guy in prison, even though he's never asked him, like, did you do this, right? He doesn't go back and ask for the case. He's clearly a man of power and wants this to be taken care of. And it says in 20, then Joseph's master took him and put him in prison, a place where the king's prisoners were confined. So he has access to a different prison, right? These high-end, high-type, people that the king might have as prisoners. He sends him to this place. And he was there in prison. But the Lord was with Joseph and showed him mercy, and he gave him favor in the sight of the keeper of the prison. 22, and the keeper of the prison committed to Joseph's hand all the prisoners who were in the prison. Whatever they did there, it was his doing. Keeper of the prison did not look into anything that was under Joseph's authority. So Joseph's back in the same place, right? He's like, well, you know what? You're a hard worker. Maybe he knew who Joseph was. Maybe he'd been watching him. Like, you know what? Maybe you were wronged, but we're in prison, and I'll give you the responsibility to take care of it. You're a hard worker. You're responsible. I won't even look into the matters of the prison. I'll just let you take care of it. Keeper of the prison did not look into anything that was under Joseph's authority because the Lord was with him. And whatever he did, the Lord made it prosper. What a cool testimony, just even at this point, right? We'll pick back up next week and he's going to, go through some dreams and things, but it's interesting. He's not in general population, of a prison, right? He's not in this general place of scum of the earth jail. He's actually going to have access to the king to some extent, right? The Pharaoh, and to the people that have been around him. Like, God is still working in all of this, and God's still prospering him in the prison, right? God's favor is still on him. I cannot imagine for a second getting locked in prison and smiling and going, well, the Lord's favor is with me, right? He's like, well, I didn't even do anything wrong. I didn't even do anything wrong. And see, the hard part is that, all of us, we have to be accountable. Me as a leader, I have to at work, at here, whatever, right? I won't randomly go out to lunch with women or ride in cars with them by myself or do any, there's things that I should not do as a man. And I don't do that because I don't like them or because I don't trust them. I don't trust anybody. That's just naturally who I am. That's from life of hurt. But we don't do those things because we don't want to find ourselves in a place where we can't account for something. And then your word becomes an argumentative he said, she said thing. Right? We do that so that we live above board. It builds trust and confidence with other people. Right? As we're, I look back on it and, Sheen and I, we lived together before we got married. We did all of life, everything in life before we got married. What would life look like right now? Like if we were just meeting and I'm trying to, I wouldn't go places where there were not other people. Right? I would let people know where I was at any given time. I wouldn't say certain things in conversations, actually. I don't mean this as an insult, just so please don't take it this way. The woman's heart, she listens for certain things, right? She listens for certain things when in a potential relationship. She wants to know that you'll love her. She wants to know that you'll take care of her. She wants to know that you have eyes for her and not for someone else. She wants to know that you're interested in her and you want to be a part of her world. Men know these things and use these things, right? Sure, you got the guy that's, goes to the bar and he picks up a girl and she's drunk and doesn't really care. Maybe he's a good-looking guy. Maybe he's the guy that hangs out until the bar is about ready to close and there's nobody left except for the woman that didn't get picked up by somebody. So then he's like, hey. And she's like, oh, well, I go home with you or go home with nobody, I guess. Right? There's men that pray and they say things and they make people believe something. So even conversationally, we have to be careful about the things that we say. Because to me, when a woman meets somebody and she's single, she knows in minutes whether this is the person or not. I think a lot of people, the majority of people, stay in relationships for too long and they knew that they were wrong to begin with, but maybe he'll change, but he is really cute, or I've been hurt so badly by other men that I don't think I'm good enough for anybody else, so this is what I'll take. I think a woman knows. I think guys, we look at the outside and we're like, oh, I could live with her the rest of my life. Look at her. What if she doesn't look like that for the rest of her life? Well, we'll tackle that when it happens. No, you should want to know and understand her heart and want to protect that heart for the rest of your entire life. Regardless of whether you have sex once a week, twice a week, never, doesn't matter. It's not about that. It's about commitment to God. And that's what Joseph was like, no, this is wicked. This is sin against God. I imagine she didn't care, right? She doesn't sin against God. Who cares? What are you even talking about? Who cares? It's just sex. It's no big deal. That subject's been swirling in my head for a long while. I wrote a post yesterday or day before or something about that, right? This way that we separate things. We take something that's supposed to be good and then it may have sort of a negative consequence, right? Coffee beans was one of my examples, right? Like, oh, I like the taste of coffee. I don't really want the caffeine. All right, let's use bleach and strip the caffeine out of your coffee. I mean, there's more sophisticated ways of doing it, but that's one of the ways. Or chlorine, which is bleach. So I don't have that, so I'll just keep drinking it, right? Or let's remove the fat out of potato chips so I can eat potato chips and not get fat. I don't know if you've ever had the ones that they did that with, but they were like, had this weird grease. And you'd eat, and it would be like all over your. I was like, this is disgusting. I'd rather get fat and die eating regular potato chips than not die and not be satisfied by these things. But marriage And the sexual union of husband and wife is something we do that with too, right? We go, well, let's just get married, but let's remove the God portion of it, the commitment, the lifetime thing. We'll do it until we're not in love anymore, or until we've just went our separate directions. Let's separate out the importance of it being wicked and great sin against God to divorce or to, go outside of your marriage. And then the other part of that is right, then we try to separate sex from emotion. You can't. It's not possible. And now the culture in school is teaching them that it is possible, and they're lying. They're saying, no, you can turn off the emotional aspect and just have the physical portion. And my case that I was making is that makes sociopaths, because that is a definition of one. They don't care. They don't have remorse. They don't care about anything. They do whatever they want. No feeling. We are making a world of them without the importance of it. And what Joseph is pointing out is a young 17-year-old man, handsome guy, probably catches all the ladies' eyes when he's in town doing his work. He says, no, I can't do that. That is sin against God. And God shows his favor. I mean, God was showing his favor when he got sold, right? So God was still showing his favor. And it doesn't even say, well, God rewarded him greatly for what he said. But God still continued to show him favor, right? And to use him and to bless the people around. So as I was reading and studying on that, I was like, man, it's just been swirling in my head. We want all of the great benefits of things, but we want to take all the negative consequences or any of that stuff away. We can't. We twist everything. We did it with cell phones, right? 1999, 2000 or something, I got a cell phone. And somebody went, what would be awesome? If it had an on-screen keyboard instead of the little, 9 digits. I don't know, you guys will never, you have to hit the button 3 times to get the A, and then you got to hit 2 times, once to A, 3 times to the C, and by the time you say yes, it's been 20 minutes, right? And then they had people that were they're just tapping and ticking away. It'd be great if we could have an on-screen keyboard. It's oh yeah. Maybe what just about a bigger keyboard? Well, that'd be awesome. BlackBerry comes out with a bigger keyboard. And they're like, what if I could move around the screen with something? And BlackBerry comes out with a little ball. And they're like, what if I could touch the screen? Oh, that would be pretty sweet, right? And then Handspring comes out with theirs. This is all Silicon Valley, early 2000s. But then they go, well, what if you could have your email on it, and you could surf the internet, and you could do this? And Apple comes out with the iPhone. It's a little mini computer in a pocket. Still not good enough. Well, can I get this? Well, can I get that? Can I get a bigger screen? Could I get a thinner phone? Could I get one that has a longer battery life? We just keep twisting and twisting and twisting. I want it to work for me. Everything I do, just keep working for me. And people go, well, it's innovation. Maybe. It's discontentment, really. And we do that in marriage. Well, what if our marriage was like this? Well, hey, it's been a long while, and maybe your friend's pretty. Maybe she wants to come hang out with us. Can you imagine the first time someone was like, hey, what about taking a second wife? The Mormons perfected that one. They're like, you want 2 wives? Well, it says in the scripture here, where? And this little handwritten note this dude pulls up, and it says, take second wife. It's not in the Bible. Yeah, no, I got this one out in the woods. I was out in the wilderness. Joseph Smith, right? And the angel came and talked to me, and I got these new ones. It says, have multiple wives. We twist stuff. Yet you have Joseph as a young man going, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to dishonor God. Don't know that he knew the cost that was going to be for that one, but he said, no, I'm going to honor God. I'm going to be better than that. And we can learn from those things, right? Be accountable. Make sure that we don't put ourselves in these situations. Make sure that we value what God values. God doesn't value the flesh. God values the heart. In marriage, that's what our number one value should be. Because flesh is withers and gets old, and you don't look the same anymore. And you ate potato chips with the fat in them for 40 years, and you got this, right? We change, but our hearts, right? Our heart is for God. It shouldn't really change.
Thank you for joining us today. We pray this teaching has been a blessing to you. If you have any questions or would like to request prayer, you can visit us online at www.cccorinth.org. If you're local, come join us for a service at 125 School Road in Charleston, Maine. We want to remind you that the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty in God. Remain armored up, and until next time, grace and peace.